from drama teachers, but so probably around English, well, that was one of all language arts. Albany, right? So Albany is
I don't know. Would you give me some water? Or beer? Is it on, sweetie?
And he was never around. A very important part of my life. I really didn't have him as my father. I knew who he was, and he'd drop in from time to time. And then after the war, he was very busy at sea duty, so for those other important years, he was really kind of around. So as I say, I was kind of sitting around feeling sorry for myself, but everyone else in the family had a chance to have this real father that I didn't. Then I started thinking about when I was with him. My memory of him is not as a flow of being with my dad. It's like a collection of vignettes, because he would appear, he'd be at sea duty, he'd be home for a month or two, and we'd do something intensely, and then he'd be gone again. So thinking back over my father, I'm thinking, well, actually, there's so many things in my life that he did affect, even though he wasn't there in that role as father on duty during those critical years when you're growing up. But he had come in and out, in and out, in and out, and every time he appeared, some little jewel would be passed on. And whether it would be the importance of a compost heap at the back. That's where I got it from him, to the point that Ross, when he was 3 years old, said, "Dad, if I die, will I be composted?" Probably not. Depends on the circumstances, which is another typical Jim Cobb response to a questioner's statement. Depends on the circumstances. He would always, you mentioned that, would always say, well, with a little smile on his face, it depends. It depends on where you are. And from the time I was a little guy, he taught me this idea of always looking at the other side, always studying, never accepting what you hear for its full value. Always look at it. He taught me really to be a skeptic. Not a cynic, but a skeptic. My entire life I've had this skepticism about just about anything you can think of. And it came from Dad, but with that kind of cheerful skepticism that he had, always questioning. So as I was thinking anyway, to wrap this up, I went back and whether it was the proper way to put wood screws into a piece of mahogany, whether it was how to straighten out and use bent nails so you could use it again, whether it was how to sail a boat, whether it was the model he set with my mother and my mother of never speaking unkindly, never having not conflict. It was just this whole thing that he would influence me bit by bit when he dropped in and happened to spend a month or so with him. And but by the time I was an adult and the rest of you got to know him a little better, I was away in college. And so I never really got to know him until I was much older. So anyway, those are my thoughts about my dad, the little ways.